All right. So let's hide this. Let's not put my mouse over that. And week 4. So I'm a little delayed in doing this. I normally keep 2 weeks running, but I finished this work last week that you're about to do day 8, day 9, day 10. But I thought I'm trying to wait. That way, if more questions come in, I can handle those. Um, but I've noticed too, because I've already moved on to next week, where I'm like, okay, I can't let this week get too far ahead of this week. I can't let where I'm working get too far ahead of this one. Then sometimes I'll lose some of the content I want to talk about, which I may anyway. Now, having said that, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Jess, who's in this class and very active on Discord, which I would love to encourage you all to be more active on Discord. I think it's a really great way to ask questions. I know sometimes it's hard for folks that are new at coding to ask coding questions because you feel like you don't know enough. And, we work to really, and when I say we, I mean Aaron and myself and everyone else like Jess who's out there, really work hard to create a welcoming environment. So, consider the next time you have a question, especially if it's a question that's after early evening, because I'm not going to be around and weekends. I know this may sound weird, but I work a regular job. This is my regular job, which means I work on it Monday through Friday, and I don't typically on the weekend unless I'm behind, which sometimes I do get behind and have to do. Anyway, let's check out uh, what I have for this week. More from just, the assignments themselves, but I also put notes as I move into the week about things that I've thought about. And one of the things I've thought about is like on your commits, right? So, right now, what the way I've wanted you to do it, and I'd kind of hinted on this in the beginning. So, really, this is one of the things I'd be curious how you feel about this. Because what I wanted to see is I really wanted to see and this is more related to the challenges, right? Or the projects. But is your code, and then, right, comment the solution code from Dr. Angela. But one of the ways you might make this easier, and maybe I didn't write a good description here, was that you could do your code for the attempt at the challenge. You could commit that code, and then you could either update your code with something that you felt was better or different, right? Maybe you couldn't get working code. And that actually would be one of the things you could say in your comment. And I say commits here, but in your comment as well. So I guess the thing I'm wondering is like, I think it's beneficial. I guess that's why I'm saying it. I think it's beneficial for you to comment and completely code separately her solution, right? But I'm also open to how you think you would learn best here. I know what I think, and what I think is what I've already said. But, I also don't like being, and this is a bad word maybe, and I'm not in the context, but a dictator, right? But so anyway, thoughts about that would be good. And then I had a student ask me a question that I kind of thought about, and now as I'm into week or day 11, it kind of came up too there. But like, if a student is able to complete the final project and get working code, should I require them to do the rest of the day? Again, this is kind of like the same idea of I know the way I think it would work best. Because even though you're able, let's just say, good on you that if you can accomplish that final code. I think there's so many wonderful times. Let me just come back and say this. I think there are so many wonderful things you pick up along the way for best practices, analytical thinking. I know this is true for me, right? I'm just telling you, this is true for me as well. Is that when I see the project, I don't necessarily think I'm going to go do that. I look forward to a process to pick up this, how she's layering the content. That's more than you probably want to know. But in this case, I mean, I just don't know if it's a good idea. What do you think, right? I know what I think. Again, I'm not trying to go. "Bruh." So here's the other thing is that holidays will impact this class. There's just no way around that. So I say this now because this is a real benefit to as much as you can working ahead, right? So if I was to go into the calendar, which by the way, right, calendar, if you don't use it, is really great. I have our class listed. You can see that we're just into week 4, your first dev. So I can't really even speak to that because I haven't gone through it with you. But as I roll forward into November, right? So we have the holidays that'll hit us in November, right? So this learn together, I'll probably, and that's the thing is I'll probably either move it to the following Monday, but even then, like, so these would be these 2 days. That's just, I mean, I'm not going to cut this work out. So, I'm going to give some flexibility as far as when you can get it done. But there's just a huge benefit. This is basically looking forward to week 7. So just do know that because of the compressed nature of this course and holidays, there's just kind of a double impact, and keeping not only up with the work but ahead of the work is a great idea if at all possible. And if you haven't realized this, I do take late work. I discount it 25%. You may have seen this because sometimes in the item, if it's not submitted, I'll do that. So do know you can submit that. It is reduced in points. Okay, so the next topic before I just briefly look at the work, not all of it, because that's really what the instruction file is. And by the way, that's another shout out to Jess because Jess goes through. He's ahead of everyone right now. Um, and what he does is he gives me feedback on my instruction when there's something that he knows like that doesn't make sense, or because here's what I'm doing, just to be honest with you. I go through, I watch, and I do the work and I write the instruction. So it sometimes I miss something. I think I did that in weeks and day 7. So thank you, Jess, again. All right. So looking ahead, the last topic before I just look at the actual, because there's one thing I want to make sure I highlight about this work, especially I think it's in day 8. But next semester, in the regular 18-week format, completely online, there is a class called Introduction to Machine Learning, which all of you, I would encourage to consider taking it. And part of the reason is it's a really fun topic to learn about, work on, all those things. And part of why I'm PRing it is, yes, I'd love to see you in there, and I got to get this class to make. And they require us to have 14 students at the beginning of a semester to make a class make, and I'm a little concerned we're not going to have enough. So the class, if you go look in WebAdvisor, does have, and shout out to Alex, he's been asking me about this, and I got the so there's a waiver you need if you haven't taken, which I'm guessing none of you, except maybe Julian. Julian might have taken my 94, which is Node.js, but most of you have not. So as long as you have some programming experience, and in this case, Python would be the programming language of preference because that's what will be used for that class. And I think I've almost decided on my Udemy course here. So as soon as I make yes, I'm going to use that one, I will put it out on Discord. But are you I know a couple of you are, but and also, would you be willing to maybe help promote it to other students that you feel would be suited for this class? So, machine learning, if you don't know anything about it, what we're doing is traditional programming where we write instruction, and machine learning flips this to where we basically give it the answers that we want to see. In the case of supervised learning, we have use algorithms to create models that we use then to predict or classify or decision trees, whatever, um, the problem that we're trying to solve. So I love this topic. So I hope it makes. And if you'd be willing to A, tell me if you're interested, and B, tell me if you'd be willing to help PR this class, I would be greatly appreciative of that as well. If there's anything you want to know about it, like I said, I'm just laying down the syllabus of that and kind of the schedule of what we're going to do. But just FYI, if you want to, you'll need the waiver, and I'll be happy to sign off waivers for that. Okay, let's go look at this week. So in this week, in week 4, okay, in day 8, I believe, and let me just go look at my instruction because I will remember while I'm looking at it. Yeah, so it's actually in the next day. Um, yeah, so when I say things like your thoughts, right, I want to see that in your README files, right? So do make sure, and most of you are doing that, do make sure you're doing that piece. So it must have been in day 9. And remember, I give you the example, but do remember as well, what I want when you submit the days is I want your commits. And most of you are doing a fine job on that. So, but that's how I want you to if you don't submit it that way, I do take off a couple points. So make sure if you have any questions, you're asking me. Okay, so in this day, I believe this is the day when it asks for the clear. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so in this case, they're using something called um, well, it's actually a system level thing called clear, so that if you're running something in the command line, you can have the output cleared. Very common to do in gaming stuff, right? Oh, I spelled dictionaries wrong there, but I'll fix that. But what I showed here, and how you can import based on your operating system, and then they show a function, but you could clearly, because you know your own operating system, just use the command. Like for me, this would be it. So I would import the OS, right? It does show you how to do sleep if that's something you wanted to do as well. But you could just import the OS, and then whenever you see, because what will happen is in the fork code from the Udemy course, she'll have import, have it done on the REPL side. But we're not using REPL at this point. We're all local, so we just have to make sure that. I'm glad there's no additional external libraries, which when we get to that fairly soon, I'm pretty sure we'll have to talk about virtualizing environments and stuff like that. Okay, so for that day, oh, that was day. Let me go back. So I gave you a link to the file I was talking about here, right? And this is really fun too because we're learning about dictionaries, right? And building this silent auction is really, I think, fun. So day 8, 9, and 10. Is 10 not out there? I'm pretty sure it is. Let me just go look real quick. Maybe I just didn't push it because I know I did it. I know, yeah, I may not have pushed it yet. Oh, I did. Okay, I don't know why I didn't see it when I looked at it. So day 10, I think is more of just a coding challenge. Yeah, so they're towards the end. And this is where you get to choose, I believe, your path. No, this is where you build the calculator. That's right. The one I'm working on now. See what I mean? That's what happens. Uh, and here's where, you can give me your thoughts, and I'm open to having suggestions the way you do the coding solutions here. But I think and doc strains, by the way, really good. I'm glad she covered that. I had never really, I'd seen it somewhere, but I didn't know how it was done. So I'm glad to see that being covered here as well. Okay, so that's the work you have for this week. Again, the instruction is there to give you that. I just wanted to give you a highlight of the how to do the import the OS, because the code that you fork over, and by the way, I'm guessing none of us are forking at this point because we're working locally. But when she says that, basically you're just copying, I'm guessing, which, by the way, is the way I would want you to do it. Because even though that's starting code, you could totally retype. Why do it if you don't have to? Okay, right. Okay, so I've asked a lot of different questions here. I would appreciate any of the feedback about the machine learning, about my question about commits, right? And about, if you understand how to code the final project, should you still have to do the day's work, right? Because I'm not a dictator. Maybe I am, and I want to think I'm not, but maybe I am. So, anyway, have a great one. I'll talk to you soon.